You're exaggerating the risks and wasting resources, Lucas said, locking eyes with me across the conference table. We need people focused on results. My name is Frank Delaney. I'm 57 years old, and I've served as the plant operations manager at Ironwood Forge for 14 years. Before that, I spent 21 years climbing the ranks from the factory floor in Akron, Ohio. I knew every machine, every safety regulation, and every shortcut that could maim a man, or worse. Lucas Wynn had been CEO for 7 months. The board brought him in to cut costs and boost returns. He was the type to wear designer shoes to a metalworks and throw around terms like efficiency gains and scalable growth, even as he walked past puddles of oil that should have been mopped up last Tuesday. The first warning sign was when he cancelled our quarterly safety training. A whole day of lost output, he said. Then maintenance became optional. Replacements were postponed. Hazard signs vanished to reduce visual noise. I started raising the alarm in private. I showed him numbers, near-miss reports, outdated compliance logs, the standards we were now breaking. He nodded, smiled, brushed it off. So I started a paper trail. Every overlooked inspection, every denied repair order, every policy violation, I recorded it all. That morning, I'd emailed the exec team about a hydraulic press with a cracked shield and faulty gauges. Running it was like spinning a loaded cylinder. I said it needed to be shut down. 2 hours later, I got called to a leadership meeting. That's when Lucas laid it out. Frank, your time here is appreciated, but your focus no longer matches where Ironwood Forge is heading. Nobody made eye contact. Not one of them. People I'd worked beside for years, whose kids' names I knew, whose weddings I'd attended, they all stared down like their notebooks held sacred truths. You'll get 2 months severance, Lucas added. HR will handle the transition. I didn't protest. Didn't yell. I just stood, nodded once, and left. Vanessa in finance caught my eye, just for a moment. A flash of something. Dread, maybe. Or guilt. But there was one thing Lucas didn't know. I hadn't relied on company servers alone. Everything was backed up, thorough, time-stamped, and ready to go to people who would pay attention. I joined Ironwood Forge when it was still Midwestern Metal Works, right after my 19th birthday. Took the graveyard shift running a stamping press. It was hot, loud, and dangerous, but it paid more than anything in Akron for a high school grad. My father worked for decades at Goodyear. Make yourself essential, he told me. Know it all. Be the one they can't cut. So I did. I learned every system. Took night classes in industrial engineering. Stepped into the safety committee role when no one else wanted it. By year 15, I was floor supervisor. By year 21, operations manager. I oversaw 350 workers. I knew which ones needed structure and which thrived on freedom. My wife, Elaine, used to laugh, "You care more about those machines than our blender." Maybe she was right. Our dishwasher had been groaning for months. But at work, a groan might mean a lost limb. Back when Winters ran the place, safety was sacred. No production target is worth a funeral, he used to say. Our incident board stood right at the gate. Bonuses rose and fell on safe performance. After Winters retired, Ironwood passed through 3 ownership groups in a decade. Each cared less about the work, more about the quarterly. Lucas was just the latest, and worst, of them all. The first time we met, he asked how fast we could double production. I told him it'd take more staff and maybe an added shift. He looked at me like I'd just slapped him. What if we just ran the machines harder, he said. That was the first red flag. I tried, really tried, to help him understand how things worked on the floor. But over time, I watched the changes creep in. Maintenance got delayed. Safety gear became optional. And the experienced workers who spoke up? They were always the first to go when Lucas began his so-called efficiency cuts. I still remember Tommy Wilson, 26 years with the company, meeting me in the lot the day after he got let go. "You're the last one who remembers how it's supposed to be, Frank," he said. "Don't let them turn that place into a death trap." I promised I wouldn't. Now I was walking back to my office for the last time, Tommy's words echoing in my mind. HR gave me 30 minutes to pack. Cheryl from HR stood quietly by the door as I boxed up my things. We'd worked together 12 years. She couldn't even look at me. "Keys and badge," she said gently, "and you'll need to sign these." She slid the paperwork over. I signed without reading it. Didn't matter anymore. My time at Ironwood was over, with or without my signature. I packed the last of my things, a mug my daughter made in ceramics class, some old photos, and then Terry Baker from maintenance stepped into the doorway. Cheryl stepped out to give us a minute. "This is wrong, Frank," Terry whispered. "Everybody knows it." I just nodded and kept my voice low. "How's that hydraulic press running?" He hesitated. "Jason's on it now. Kid's been here 8 months. 8. He shook his head. "Lucas said to hit targets no matter what." My stomach turned. Jason was a good kid, eager, but too eager. I handed Terry my box. "Watch your back," I said. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck for a long time, just staring at the building I'd spent half my life in. The weight of it all hit me. I'd lost my job, lost the role I'd built as the safety guy. But that wasn't what hit hardest. People were going to get hurt. Maybe worse. And Lucas Wynne would treat it like business as usual. I turned the key but didn't drive home. I headed to the public library instead. I logged onto a computer and spent 3 hours compiling everything. Every email, every rejected repair request, every ignored inspection note. Photos of fire exits blocked by pallets, of missing guards on machines, of chemical spills left to dry. Then I wrote a full cover letter detailing how Ironwood Forge safety systems had been systematically dismantled since Lucas Wynne took over. I printed it all, packaged it, and drove straight to the nearest FedEx. The address, OSHA's regional office in Columbus. I paid for overnight delivery and walked out feeling lighter than I had in months. Driving home, a strange calm settled over me. For too long, I'd fought this from the inside, followed the chain of command, played by the rules, tried to protect my team while trapped in Lucas's rigged game. But now I was outside it. Free of the system. As I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa in finance. "Lucas has them running that press non-stop, 3 shifts, no maintenance. What should we do?" I didn't answer right away. I went inside, kissed Elaine, and poured a rare glass of bourbon. "You're home early," she said, giving me a curious look. "Got fired," I told her. Her eyes widened. "What? Why?" I took a slow sip. "For doing my job. But I'm not done yet." I picked up my phone and texted Vanessa back, "Document everything. I've got a plan." 3 days later, I got a call from Patricia Simmons at OSHA. "Mr. Delaney, we've reviewed your submission about Ironwood Forge," she said. "I'd like to discuss some of these allegations in person." We met at a coffee shop 20 minutes from. Patricia was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, but sharp. Her questions were focused, informed. She'd clearly done her homework. "We take these reports seriously," she said after 2 hours of discussion, "especially when they come from someone with your background. But you should know, Ironwood's official safety record is spotless." "Of course it is," I replied. "Lucas has been burying the real numbers. Minor injuries get paid off from petty cash. Workers are told to keep quiet or lose their jobs." Patricia nodded, jotting things down. "We'll need to inspect the facility. But getting approval and setting up a visit could take a few weeks." "People might not have a few weeks," I said, picturing that hydraulic press running day and night. "I understand," she said carefully, "but we have a process we have to follow." "Procedures won't help Jason Parker if that press gives out," I said, more sharply than I meant to. "Or anyone else working next to him." She gave me a sympathetic look. "I'll move things forward as fast as I can. In the meantime, is there anyone still at Ironwood who might talk to us?" I considered it. Maybe. But doing so could cost them everything. After she left, I just sat there, staring at my coffee, feeling time closing in. Bureaucracy crawls. Machines fail in seconds. That night, I called Terry Baker. "How bad's it gotten?" I asked. His voice was hushed, tired. "Worse than you think, Frank. That press? It's making sounds I've never heard before. Lucas has 3 temps on it, kids who don't even know what half the buttons do. I tried to show them the right way, and Lucas pulled me aside. Said if I couldn't adapt, I'd be next. OSHA's coming, I told him. But it might be weeks." The silence on the line stretched. "Somebody's gonna get hurt before then," Terry finally said. "I know," I whispered. "I'm trying to move faster." The next morning, I drove to the Akron Gazette and asked to see their investigative reporter. After a short wait, I was introduced to Olivia Jimenez, a sharp-eyed woman with a recorder and a practiced skepticism. "So you're alleging unsafe conditions at Ironwood Forge?" she asked after I explained the basics. "I'm not alleging anything," I said. "I've got proof." I laid out photos, jammed emergency stops, fire exits blocked by pallets, guards removed from machines. She glanced through them. "Could be any factory," she said. "How do I know this is Ironwood?" "Because I spent 35 years there. And they fired me for calling this stuff out." Her eyes narrowed. "So this is revenge?" "No," I said. "It's about preventing funerals. Run the story or don't. But if someone dies in that plant while you're sitting on the fence, how will you live with that?" She didn't reply right away. Just studied me. "I'll need more than your word. Any current employees willing to confirm this?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Vanessa. Her voice was trembling. "There's been an accident, Frank. The press, Jason's hurt. Real bad. Ambulance just left." My chest tightened. "How bad?" "They think he might lose his arm." I turned to Olivia. "There's your confirmation." 2 hours later, Lucas Wynne held a press conference outside the plant. He stood in a designer suit, hands folded, delivering concern like a man reading lines from a play. "We are deeply troubled by this unfortunate accident," he said. "Safety has always been our top priority. This appears to be an isolated case of operator error. We are investigating thoroughly." And then, like I knew he would, he played his move. "Unfortunately, we believe this incident may involve deliberate sabotage by a recently terminated employee who had expressed discontent with company operations." He didn't say my name. He didn't have to. By sundown, 2 uniformed officers were knocking at my door, asking about my whereabouts that morning, and requesting access to my phone. My phone was ringing non-stop, former co-workers calling to ask if I'd really done what Lucas was hinting at. The next morning, I hired a lawyer. Harold Greenberg had represented union workers for over 4 decades. He knew every tactic companies use to dodge responsibility. "They're trying to make you the fall guy," Harold said flatly. "Smart strategy, honestly. Blame the bitter ex-employee, stir up doubt, stall the regulators, and by the time the dust settles, the company walks away clean." "But I wasn't even there," I argued. "They have security cameras." Harold nodded. "Which they control. This isn't about truth, Frank. It's about liability. If they stick this on you, their insurance doesn't spike. They dodge OSHA penalties. And Jason's inevitable lawsuit focuses on you, not them. So what's our move?" I asked. "We hit back with facts," Harold said. "You said you've got documentation?" "Everything. Months of it." "Good. But we need more. We need to know what they're saying inside Ironwood right now, especially about the accident." That evening, Terry Baker and Vanessa Morris met me in Harold's office. Both were tense, constantly glancing at their phones. "Lucas called an all-hands after you left," Terry said. "Told everyone they'd be fired for talking to you or the press. Made us sign fresh NDAs. But you're here," I said. Terry's jaw tightened. "Been there 30 years, Frank. What happened to Jason?" "That's not who we are, or who we used to be." Vanessa nodded. "I handle accounting for maintenance requests. I saved copies of everything Lucas rejected the last 6 months, including 3 separate work orders for that press." She handed Harold a USB drive. "He's been cutting corners everywhere, safety, quality, even environmental and tax stuff. Just to make his numbers look good." Harold reviewed the files while we talked. When he finally looked up, his face was grim. "This isn't just negligence. This is criminal. But it still doesn't prove Frank didn't sabotage anything." "Maybe this will," Terry said, pulling out his phone. "I recorded the so-called safety briefing Lucas gave the temps before putting them on the press." He played the audio. It was short. Lucas showed the power switch, pointed at the emergency stop, and rattled off production quotas. That was it. "That's maybe 2% of the required training," I said. "Did Jason even get this?" "Less," Terry replied darkly. Lucas told him to figure it out on his own and walked off. Harold was furious. "That's illegal. Those workers needed OSHA-mandated training, oversight, everything. None of that happened." Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. "There's more. I found something in the emails yesterday. Turns out, Lucas knew that press was dangerous. The manufacturer's rep inspected it last month and formally recommended shutting it down for repairs." She held up her phone, showing an email. Lucas's reply was short: "Too expensive. Find workarounds." The room fell into silence. The truth was undeniable now. This wasn't just mismanagement or cost-cutting, it was deliberate. "He buried the inspection report," Vanessa added. "Never even forwarded it to maintenance. I thought of Jason, 23 years old, lying in a hospital bed, maybe without his arm. All because Lucas wanted to meet a financial goal. So what now?" I asked. Harold began collecting the evidence into folders. "First," he said, "we clear your name. Then, we hold Ironwood, and Lucas, accountable." Terry's phone buzzed. He looked at it, and the color drained from his face. "What is it?" I asked. "OSHA just showed up," he said. "Unannounced. Lucas is losing his mind." For the first time since I'd been fired, I smiled. Perfect timing. The inspection at Ironwood Forge lasted 3 full days. Patricia Simmons led a 6-person team. When it was over, they documented more than 78 serious violations. Meanwhile, Harold arranged a meeting with the detectives investigating the sabotage claims against me. With Terry's statement and security footage proving I hadn't been anywhere near the site, the police quickly concluded Lucas's accusations were baseless. I was formally cleared. Harold wasted no time leaking the news to the Akron Gazette. Olivia Jimenez's front-page headline ran that Sunday, "Whistleblower vindicated, former manager warned of dangers before horrific industrial accident." The article laid out my warnings, Lucas's cover-up, and Jason's condition. He had survived, but lost his arm below the elbow. The story hit the town hard. Ironwood Forge had been part of Akron's identity for generations. Now it was exposed for what it had become, a death trap run by a man who saw workers as numbers. Lucas tried to contain the damage with another press conference, but this time, reporters came prepared. They asked pointed questions about the manufacturer's warnings and falsified safety logs. "These accusations are completely false," Lucas insisted, clearly rattled. "Frank Delaney has a personal vendetta against this company." What he didn't know was that Harold had arranged for Jason Parker to watch the press conference from his hospital bed. Jason's response was swift and powerful. The interview aired that same night, Jason, arm bandaged, sitting upright in his hospital gown. He spoke with calm conviction, describing the lack of training, the impossible quotas, and the fact that management ignored repeated warnings. "Frank Delaney tried to shut that machine down," he said. "If they'd listened to him, I'd still have my arm." The interview was a bombshell. By that evening, Ironwood's board of directors had called an emergency meeting. The next morning, two major things happened. Lucas Wynne was placed on administrative leave, and I got a phone call from Gregory Winters. "Frank, it's Greg Winters," he said. I hadn't heard from Greg in years. After his father retired, Greg had moved to Chicago, sold his stake in the company, and pursued other ventures. "The board asked me to come in temporarily," he explained. "The place is a disaster. OSHA's shut down half the lines, lawsuits are piling up, and morale's in the basement." "Sounds like you've got your hands full," I said, still unsure why he'd called. "I need someone who knows the floor, someone the workers trust." He paused. "I want you to come back, Frank. As acting plant manager." "I didn't expect that. You know I'm the one who reported this to OSHA, right?" "That's exactly why I want you," he said. "You put people's safety first, just like my dad always believed in." I thought about it. Going back would be complicated. Some would resent me, for the shutdown, the lawsuits, the lost bonuses. But there was also a chance to rebuild something real. "I'll do it," I said finally, on two conditions. First, we don't restart production until every safety issue is fixed. No shortcuts. "Agreed," Greg said without hesitation. "And second, Jason Parker gets full compensation, best care, full pay while he recovers, and a guaranteed job if he wants it." There was a pause on the line. Then, "Done. When can you start?" 3 days later, I walked back through the front doors of Ironwood Forge. The floor was quiet, machines shut down during the safety overhaul. Terry Baker met me at the entrance, clipboard in hand and a tired smile on his face. "Never thought I'd see you back here," he said. "Makes two of us," I replied. We walked the floor together, past halted production lines and teams of workers reinstalling guardrails and emergency stops. We stopped at the hydraulic press, the one that took Jason's arm. It was roped off in yellow caution tape, waiting for the manufacturer to inspect it. "It's gonna take a while to fix everything Lucas broke," Terry said. I nodded, looking out at the still machines and the people slowly bringing the place back to life. Guards and safety equipment. I looked around the quiet floor. Then we better get started. 6 weeks later, Gregory Winters called a company-wide meeting in the main production area. All 300 employees gathered around a temporary stage. The mood was tense but hopeful. I stood off to the side, watching Greg step up to the microphone. Behind him sat the newly restructured board of directors, now including 2 retired floor workers and a certified safety compliance officer. "Many of you have been with Ironwood longer than I have," Greg began. "You remember when this place stood for more than profit." He paused. "Today, we begin the work of rebuilding that legacy." He announced sweeping changes, overhauled safety protocols, increased maintenance funding, bonuses tied not just to output but also safety metrics, and a new worker representation committee with real decision-making power. Then his tone shifted. "As for the leadership that failed you, I have an update." The crowd quieted. "This morning, the board voted unanimously to terminate Lucas Wynne for cause. We're also cooperating with the district attorney's office in their criminal investigation into his actions." A murmur spread through the room. Greg continued, "And one more announcement. Ironwood will now have a director of operational safety and compliance. This person will have final say over any decision affecting worker safety, and will report directly to the board." Greg looked my way. "Frank Delaney has agreed to take on this role, effective immediately." For a moment, the room was silent, then it erupted. But not in corporate applause. This was real, tired hands clapping for someone they knew had fought for them. I stepped forward and scanned the crowd. Near the back, I spotted Jason Parker. His left sleeve was pinned up, but he was smiling. He nodded. Forgiveness and gratitude in a single look. I nodded back, then turned to face my colleagues. 3 months after my return, I drove to the county courthouse for Lucas Wynn's arraignment. He now faced multiple charges, including criminal negligence resulting in serious bodily harm. I didn't need to be there. The case would move forward without me. But I had to see it through. Lucas looked smaller somehow, diminished, standing before the judge in his expensive suit. When he spotted me in the gallery, his face flushed. He pled not guilty and was released on bail. Outside, in the parking lot, he approached me. "Happy now, Frank," he sneered. "You ruined my career over one accident." "It wasn't just one accident," I said. "It was a catastrophe you allowed to happen. You knew the risks." "That's business," he snapped. "No," I replied, stepping away. "That's criminal." He shouted after me, "I'll beat these charges. Then I'll sue you for everything you've got." I didn't turn around. Some men never learn. That weekend, I visited Jason at his apartment. He was adjusting to his prosthetic arm and focused on finishing physical therapy. We sat on his balcony, sipping iced tea. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "You could have just walked away. Found another job. Why fight so hard?" I thought about it. Because some things matter more than a paycheck. When you see something wrong, really wrong, you either turn away or do something about it. Jason nodded slowly. "Well, I'm glad you did something." Driving home that evening, I felt a peace I hadn't known in a long time. Ironwood was running safely again. Production numbers were up, not from speed, but from care and consistency. And I was doing work that mattered. Sometimes, standing your ground means stepping away first. But that doesn't mean you're finished.